Hey guys, this is Mark Shawson, the Pattern Trader. Right now is perhaps the most confusing and chaotic and challenging investment period we've seen in perhaps the last 50 years. This applies for any level of trader. But in this series, I'm really going to try and break apart the information and try and take a look at everything from the perspective of a beginner. So if you don't know anything, if you're just starting, don't worry. We're going to make all of the tools available for you to sort this out and actually take advantage of this environment. So this is going to be the first of a series of 10 videos speaking to you as a beginner and trying to break apart the types of investments, the investment strategies, why you should start looking at investments. If you're interested in investing your money but have no idea where to start, then don't worry, you're right in the right place. How many times have you been told to invest your money but you have no idea where to start? In this video series, we're going to break it apart and make it easier for you to understand. If you want to know how to invest effectively without taking an MIT economics course, then please let me show you how. So why I said perhaps this was the most difficult investment period in 50 years is because this is the first time we've seen rampant inflation over 5%. So just a couple of months ago, inflation was running at an annualized 9% inflation. That means everything you go to buy a loaf of bread, everything you buy is up by 9%. And inflation is the biggest thief. It's a silent killer. While you're sleeping at night, it's slowly stealing away all of your money because it erodes what's called your purchasing power. So whatever money you have in your bank is worth less because it takes so much more to go and buy goods and services. So we've come off the 9% and we're now averaging about 6%. But this also makes it a very treacherous environment because in order to bring inflation down, the Federal Reserve, which is the independent governing entity that governs our money supply and controls the interest rates, now has to respond to higher inflation by raising interest rates. Now, higher interest rates become a long-term threat to certain things like stocks and bonds. So you really have to know what you're doing. In the past 10 or 15 years, you could have just blindly thrown a dart at the stock market, pretty much bought anything, and it would have gone higher. But now this is a much more challenging environment, and we're going to help you sort it all out. But before I kind of get into that, maybe we should understand why it's important for you to think about investing. And it doesn't matter what age you start. It's never too late. It's never too early. I have a young son in college, and I started advising him to put away $300 a month. So I used to think when I was young, when I was his age, that I had to reinvent the wheel, that I had to do something very special to get wealthy. But it doesn't work that way. Wealth actually is accumulated through the power of compounding. And what I mean by compounding is if you look at statistically, the S&P 500, which is a major stock index in the United States, has averaged a return of about 8% a year going back to 1900. So we have 100 plus years of history where the S&P has averaged 8%, sometimes more. And so if you invest $300 a month at 10% a month, 40 years later, you'll have $1.5 million. That's right, just sticking away $300 a month every month. And so it's called the power of compounding. So again, the reasons why we need to consider investing as soon as possible is because you need to stay ahead of inflation. We just talked about inflation. If inflation stays at 6%, it's the rule of 72. So if you divide 6 into 72, that's how long it would take your money to double. But in this case, it would take your purchasing power away in 12 years. So in 12 years, it would take you 100% more. So if a loaf of bread costs $5 now at 6%, in 12 years from now, it'd be $10 and everything would be more. So you need to consider an investment strategy to stay ahead of inflation because inflation is eroding whatever assets you have. They're actually going down relative to your ability to purchase things in the market. It also is a way to build wealth slowly or quickly. Depending what engine, what vehicle, how you do it, you can build wealth over time. So you can still have your job, But if you put your money to work, it can work for you perhaps a lot quicker than even the best job. Now, you have to always think about, what are you going to do in retirement when you have to stop working and your income starts running out? You want to have enough money so that you don't have to worry. You can go and play golf and tennis and not worry about money in your advancing years. Now, a big part of putting together a strategy is, if you don't have a plan, you will plan to fail. If you put in a plan now, you will then have predictable income and income streams in the future. And the more you get ahead of that, the more stability you'll have in your life, the better the quality of your life will be, the happier. You won't have to work as hard, and you could have these passive assets working for you. So remember that certain investment strategies, and most investment strategies these days, whether it be bonds or stocks, are risky. So whatever you do, there's always a risk component. This is what we really talk to our members about. This is what I look at every opportunity, risk versus reward. So whenever I'm thinking of something, the first component I'm looking at is, what is the risk? And is it worth taking that risk for an acceptable return? So please know that this will be a continuing series. We will continue talking about the investment environment, continue to talk about what kind of strategies and vehicles you can use to employ to get ahead of this environment and get ahead in your life. So please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for further videos just like this.